Yeah, well, I grew up in Pampa, Texas, a little town up northeast of Amarillo, and we had an assembly in high school one day, and the Marine Corps was in there. And I got to looking at them and listening to them, and I decided, man, this sounds like a really good deal. So I joined the Marine Corps Reserve, and after a little summer vacation at Camp Pendleton, I decided that the Marine Corps wasn't my bag. And right after high school graduation, me and this friend of mine joined the Navy. We was going to see the world and do all kinds of things, but that didn't work out either. This boy from the Panhandle, that was too much salt water for him. Yeah. Got out of the Navy and then went to work. Couldn't find a good job. Worked service stations and everything. Still couldn't find a good job, so got to thinking that Army might be a good deal. So me and my younger brother joined the Army together. Went through Fort Polk, Louisiana, and then he went off to be artillery man, and I was ordnance, stationed up at Fort Chaffee, Arkansas. And that's where I met my wife. We've been married for 48 years now. Worked out pretty good. And I promised her whenever we got married that I wouldn't stay in the Army. So right after I got out of the Army, I was with the 31st Combat Engineer Battalion down in Fort Bliss. And whenever we got out there, we moved back to Arkansas, and I got a job working for Western Electric Corporation. And minimum wage back then wasn't very much. And she and I sat down one day and talked it all over and decided that I don't need much more time in order to retire from the military, and then I would have to be young enough to get another job. So went back into the Air Force at that time, and then my first daughter was born just about a month or two after I joined the Air Force, and we moved up to Clinton Sherman, Oklahoma, which that base is no longer there. It's a civilian place. And from there, we moved to Goose Bay, Labrador. That's an experience. Whenever it warms up to 0, you let your kids out to play. And we was up there for 2 years, enjoyed it, had a lot of fun up there, riding the snowmobiles and everything, and come back to Seymour Johnson, North Carolina. And from there, I went into munitions. I was a ground service technician there in Seymour Johnson. Well, they decided that they needed munitions people real bad, seeing as how Vietnam was going on, and they sent me to Denver to be a munitions specialist. And from Denver to Vietnam, and loaded a bunch of bombs, 20 millimeter. Just had a lot of fun there in Vietnam dodging. And then after Vietnam, we went back to Arizona, Tucson, Arizona. Can't even remember the name of the base now, but we was there for a year. No, we didn't. I come back to Alexandria, Louisiana from Vietnam, and then went from there to teach at Denver. And I taught munitions at Denver for 2 years, and then they sent me to Thailand. And then I come back to Arizona from there, and then they sent me to Guam for 2 more years. And while I was at Guam, I put in my retirement papers, come back to Carswell Air Force Base and finished out my retirement there at Carswell.